Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. And, of course, this is the day after the incredible victory of President Trump in Iowa, just cleaning house. And we're very, very excited. And, of course, the media are just having complete meltdowns today. They don't know which way is up. I mean, look at everything they've done to this great president, right? Let's just start it from January 6th on. I mean, it's been nonstop. They've arrested him. They've got mugshots. There's this E. Jean Carroll back in court this week with she's bringing the Access Hollywood tape into court, the E. Jean Carroll, the
Ridiculous.
Stormy. It's insane. They're arrested his lawyers. I mean, it's insane. And then here we are, just what I'm calling the Trump miracle. And the Trump miracle is just this miraculous victory that's going to snowball from primary to primary.
What the media doesn't want to admit, and I flipped back from Fox and CNN last night, and Jake Tapper could not contain his hatred.
He's a jerk.
What the media doesn't want to admit to themselves or to anybody is the reason Trump is doing so well, one of the reasons he's doing so well, is because people have realized that the media has been lying to them
Forever.
for years and years and years. And they have realized what the media is all about, and that this is a political hit job, that it's a witch hunt. And people are realizing that, and they're realizing, you know what, Trump is a great president. He is a great man. He's not what they're saying at all.
Yep.
He's the opposite of that. But they've been lying to us for the last 7-8 years.
Yep.
And people have had enough. And that's what's really a big part of his success and of what's going on. And they don't want to admit it. What you're going to hear a lot of is they're going to break down the voters, and you're going to hear a lot of uneducated voters, uneducated this, uneducated that. That's what they did the last time. They want you to so what's wrong if you don't have a college education? What does that mean? But I have a college education. Brian does. My whole family have college educations. They've all voted for Trump. So that's a bunch of baloney.
The smartest people I have known in my life are people that not only do not have college education, some of them don't even have high school diplomas. And the dumbest people I've known in my life are people that have advanced graduate college
some
degrees.
Of the dumbest.
Yeah, no, Nikki Haley, look at her. So
I got to tell you, your stepfather, when he was helping Emily with math in high school, he didn't go to college.
No.
He was a construction worker, and she was having trouble with geometry, which was my nemesis in high school. I hated geometry. And your stepdad came over. I could not believe how good he was at math. I mean, he was like the guy in Good Will Hunting. It blew my mind.
I was in shock.
I was like, Steve, I said, I cannot believe how good you are in geometry. He said, well, I got to know this for work.
He was doing
he did fractions.
He was doing advanced geometry and algebra, and he even helped me with my college algebra.
I couldn't believe it.
So the media are having meltdowns. Joy Reid, who's just a terrible person, she had two different meltdowns. One of them with the race card, I'll get to in a bit. But
that's her favorite card to play.
But there's another one that people didn't pay attention to. She did this part's crazy. She did some analysis of kinky boots. That's what I call Ron DeSantis kinky boots.
Oh, yes.
She did an analysis of Ron DeSantis that it pains me to say this.
Yes.
But I agree with a lot of what Joy Reid says here.
She was spot on.
When she's talking about Ron DeSantis. So let's go through this. This is Joy Reid. This is last night. She's sitting around with all these jerks over there on MSNBC, and she's talking about the self-destruction of Ron DeSantis. Listen to this.
I mean, I think that the problem for Nikki Haley, as you said, is that you need passion to caucus, like it requires passion. But whatever happens with her tonight, I think we must remark upon the absolute tragedy of Ron DeSantis as a human being and as a politician. And I say this as somebody who spent 14 years in the great state of Florida. This man torched the state of Florida's education system by turning it into a grand apologist for slavery.
Now, I don't agree with this part, okay, when this analysis here. What she just said about Ron DeSantis and the education system and slavery is not true. What had been talked about, and this, by the way, is true if you read writings at the time, when the slaves were freed, many of them had skills like blacksmithing, making wagon wheels, farming, and they got off the plantation and went into the towns in the South and in cities up north. They were taking jobs away from the white people because they had not just skills, they had great skills. And it is true that many slaves left the plantations and had incredible skills because on the plantations, the Democrat slave owners, they just sat around and drank mint juleps, and the slaves did all the work. So I don't agree with her. That's not the part I agree with her about DeSantis. I just want to be clear.
He passed a 6-week abortion ban that he signed at midnight so that no one could see him do it, to match Kim Reynolds, the governor of Iowa, in essentially condemning rape victims and incest victims to give birth at 10 years old, if that's what.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. When someone has been raped, okay, they know it. They call the police. They get, there's a certain point where, what DeSantis is saying, I don't agree with her about this part either. We'll get to the part where she says some things about DeSantis that we agree with in just a bit. Just because a child has been conceived out of rape doesn't mean that that's not a life. You either believe it's a life in the womb or not. Okay, and that
I don't know when it became a thing to cope with rape by murdering your child. The child is an innocent victim.
That's right.
As well.
That's right. Maybe we'll ask Joy Reid one day about that.
Yeah, and as far as incest, if you allow, which is very rare, by the way, so, Abby Johnson said that's like a very, very, very small percentage of people that get abortions.
1/2 of 1%.
If you have, say, an 11-year-old girl who's being molested by her father, her brother, or something, it's horrible, of course, and say she gets pregnant. In some states, and before they really crack down on these things, a father, say he got his daughter, 11-year-old, pregnant, he could take her to get an abortion and cover up his crime.
That's right.
And take care of it and continue the molestation. But if that abortion is no longer allowed, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a pregnant 11, 12-year-old, and the police are going to wonder, well, who the hell impregnated this girl? And they're going to find out through DNA that it was a family member, and they'll find out it was the father, and he'll go to jail, is where he belongs. So allowing abortions for incest victims does not stop the incest. In fact, it probably helps encourage it to continue.
That's right.
Even more, and you're protecting the perpetrator.
What it does,
you're covering up the crime.
What it does is destroys the evidence.
Yep.
And abortion has allowed rape, and incest is also rape, has allowed rape and sexual abuse of other kinds to continue for decades and decades without any punishment.
That's right.
So this isn't the part we agree with her on yet. She'll get to more on DeSantis in just a bit.
What it takes in order to get evangelicals to like him. All the things he did, he completely took the Republican Tallahassee entire Senate and House delegations, put them in his service. They had to essentially work for him, and they passed everything he asked them for one reason only, because he was going to win Iowa. Yeah. He put it all on Iowa. Mm-hmm. His whole ground game is Iowa. His whole strategy is Iowa. And he destroyed his political career in his home state, neglected his home state during 2 hurricanes, wore weird high boots, and humiliated himself when he finally ran home to pretend.
These are the areas we agree with her on, about the boots, neglecting Florida because we live in Florida.
He was going to help his state and neglected it. The highest insurance rates. It's impossible to get insurance in the state. Workers are leaving. His Latino workers, Hispanic workers are leaving because of draconian immigration law that his Republicans passed for him. It's hurting the agriculture industry, the construction industry. He's ruined the state, made it an anathema for business. He sued Disney, put himself at war with Mickey Mouse and lost and got humiliated by them. What has he not done that was stupid politically? All for one purpose. He did the ad where he said God created a fighter to get evangelicals to love him. And he's going to finish maybe in the 15s, maybe in the 20s in Iowa. And he's finished as a politician in Florida as a result.
Okay. Yeah. What she said there at the end about DeSantis and how he put everything into Iowa and neglected Florida and destroyed, she's right. Ron DeSantis was, next to Donald Trump, the most popular Republican in the country. And then he betrayed Donald Trump. He betrayed us in Florida. The way I've been describing it to people, because we're in Florida, he lied to President Trump, passed himself off as MAGA. He was fake MAGA. the way that he handled us in Florida, he pretended that he was MAGA. As soon as he got reelected to his second term as governor, and governors only have 2 terms in Florida.
He was done with us.
He acted like a guy who's working hard to get a girl in bed. She has sex with him, and then he ghosts her. And he's ghosted the entire MAGA Republican base of Florida that he betrayed. And what's going to happen soon, he's skipping New Hampshire. And then he's going to go right to...
Why is he skipping New Hampshire? Because it's not worth his time?
He probably is low on money, and if he has any money left, and he's going to lose because she's got an operation up there, Nikki, she's going to come in second. He's going to go straight to South Carolina. That's going to be devastating for him. And he's going to come back to Florida. And Ron DeSantis, I think, is so out of touch with reality, I don't think he realizes he is the most hated man in Florida. Now,
I feel like something happened with him, like, I don't know if he's planned this life all along, or I really feel because before he became governor again, he was so involved in Florida. I mean, we talked about it. They would run his press conferences.
It was a scam he was running.
Every day he was in a different city. Like I would say to you, he's like the hardest working governor I've ever seen. It's incredible. This he's never home. He's always in a different city in Florida, going to businesses, meeting people. Yeah. It was incredible. But once he got reelected, that stopped completely.
Yep, that's right. He abandoned us.
And I don't know if that was the plan all along or if flipping Miami is what really flipped him. I feel like that was a big part of it, that he felt that he did that by himself. And I think it flipped a switch in him. And the DeSantis I see is just, I don't even know this guy. He's strange.
Yeah,
he's bizarre. Weird. It's like a different person.
Yeah.
It's like something almost happened to him when he won the second
time.
Well,
I'm glad.
I don't understand it.
I'm glad that he did it because he would have coasted in and become the second MAGA president in 2028 probably. And then after that, we would have found out he was fake MAGA. So it's better to find out early on that he's fake MAGA as opposed to waiting.
He got impatient.
What happened to Ron DeSantis is, Jeb Bush, of course, was the governor of Florida years ago. So he knows Jeb. Jeb Bush got in his head.
Yep.
And Jeb Bush's wife got in Walmart Melania's head, and they convinced him to betray Trump and betray Florida. He got an ego, and he's destroyed his career. So the part about him destroying his career, Joy Reid is very right about that. Now, she's a very sick and twisted person, though. And as Trump was winning in Iowa last night, and Nikki Haley was getting creamed, Joy Reid went on this racist rant. Let me share that.
New Hampshire. And I think to the point that you made, Steph, I mean, it's the elephant in the room. She's still a brown lady that's got to try to win in a party that is deeply anti-immigrant and which accepts the notion that you can say immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. She's getting, birthered by Donald Trump. And I don't care how much the donor class likes her, which will ramp up a lot the better she does in New Hampshire. So it's still a challenge. I don't see how she becomes the nominee of that party with Donald Trump still around. I can't picture it happening. Maybe it could happen. Ron DeSantis' only argument for staying in it is he's the white guy, that he can still make the appeal to white people.
While we have... Okay. Now, first of all, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's done the right thing, he's dropped out. He's endorsed Trump. Vivek said he's going to go to New Hampshire and campaign for President Trump. Okay. If you put... They're both Indian American, right? You put Ramaswamy next to Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley looks like almost as white as me. Ramaswamy is dark brown. Mm-hmm. And he has a lot of support with MAGA conservatives. I support him now because Trump says he's a good guy and he's going to work for Trump. So all that other stuff is under the water under the bridge now. And she conveniently leaves that out of the discussion because
what she's trying to say,
she wants to believe and get this narrative going that the Trump movement, the MAGA movement, is racist. And if she points out that Ramaswamy is very popular in that group and he's brown, very brown, and Nikki Haley's white, it goes against the narrative she's trying to push.
Well, what she's saying is that most conservatives are white people and they won't vote for a brown person, is what she's basically
most
saying.
People,
that she can't get a fair shot because she's not white. No, she's an idiot. This is how they rationalize things and explain things to themselves. It always comes down to race and with liberals. And they cannot accept the fact that people just like Trump.
That's
and that
right.
Biden's a disaster and that people support Trump for what he stands for. They can't accept that. So how they explain it is, well, these are all white people in Iowa, 95% white population, and they're never going to vote for a brown. Well, she got 18% of the vote.
That's right.
So that's pretty, that's not horrible in a state that's 95%
What
white.
happened?
But it has nothing to do with race. They see us as very limited. They see Republicans as very limited, and they see us as driven by our whiteness, and that we only vote for white people, and that's basically why Trump is winning. That's how she's explaining it right here. Because it's all about race to her.
Because Joy Reid is a racist.
Right.
She projects racism onto everybody else. She thinks exactly everyone's a racist.
That's right.
Now, Nikki Haley ran a racket in Iowa last night. In Iowa, you can change your party affiliation at the caucus location.
Right.
So Democrats were showing up and changing the you have to be Republican to vote. So the Democrats were showing up at caucus locations and changing the registration on the spot to Republican so they could caucus for Nikki Haley. At one location, they ran out of the forms to change your party affiliation. They had to go get more forms made. So Nikki Haley, even though far third place finish, okay, but she really may have finished back in Vivek territory if it wasn't for this party switch thing.
She probably would have been more like 9-10%.
Now, I want to tell you guys, if you've not heard, Fox News has banned Mike Lindell and MyPillow from the Fox News channel. Mike Lindell and MyPillow are long-time supporters of this program and all of my content, the podcast, my YouTube channel, the radio show. And we've been with Mike Lindell and MyPillow for many years. Kathy and I live in what I call a MyPillow household. We have most every product that you would want. We have bought them all. Sometimes I'll get a call from Mike's assistant asking, hey, I'd like to send you the MyPillow 2.0. And I already have that. Well, we got that. Would you like to have a bath? I already have the bathrobe. What about this? I already have this. There's always, every time they're trying to give me something, we already have it. But the MyPillow products with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane at MyPillow.com, you can save up to 80%. You can take advantage of all the specials at MyPillow.com with our promo code Kane. Being canceled by Fox News after the cancellation of Walmart and the other major retailers has taken a big hit on MyPillow. I'm here to tell you.
Well, yeah, because if he was paying them $4 million a month to advertise,
over $5 million last month,
$5 million a month, he was making more in sales. Otherwise, why would he advertise on them?
Now,
so he's taking a huge hit.
That's right. And Mike Lindell, when he started getting canceled by Walmart and these other retailers, vowed to his employees he would not lay anyone off, and he has not laid a single person off. This cancellation of Fox News is a big hit on Mike Lindell and MyPillow.
Yep.
When you go to MyPillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout, you're going to get great products, whatever you buy. They're all great, I'm here to tell you. You're going to save up to 80%. When you use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, you're supporting this program and all the content I'm connected to, and you're also helping the great Mike Lindell. So go to MyPillow.com, use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, and buy something. We'll be right back.
There's no better way to start your day than with a delicious hot cup of coffee. And when you're looking for premium, freshly roasted coffee that's delivered directly to your doorstep, you need to visit itsjustforyou.com. That's J-U-S, the number 4U. Itsjustforyou.com has a huge range of flavors like mocha, pumpkin spice, caramel, cinnamon hazelnut, French vanilla, and that's just the beginning. Whether you prefer your favorites or want to try out sample packs, the choice is yours. Savor their delectable blends, including breakfast blend, Italian roast, blonde, and that's just the beginning. Every batch of beans is custom roasted only after you place your order, ensuring the freshest taste possible. Once roasted, they're promptly shipped to your location, ready for you to savor and enjoy. Order today and enjoy free shipping on all orders in the United States. That's right, free shipping on all U.S. orders. It's justforyou.com. That's J-U-S, the number 4U. Freshness guaranteed. It's justforyou.com. How would you like to take an adventure through time? You can, and you can do it without a time machine with the History Buff Podcast. With host Artie, your resident history buff. He's a Berlin tour guide, and Artie knows history. There are two types of adventures on the History Buff Podcast. First, solo, concise episodes that are under 20 minutes. They're perfect for your daily commute to and home from work. There's also in-depth discussions and interviews that last up to an hour for a deeper understanding of history's fascinating stories. The History Buff podcast takes you on a whirlwind tour through time. You'll discover the rich history of Berlin, unravel the complex narratives of Ukraine, and be inspired by stories of India's first female prime minister. And that's just the beginning. After all, it's history, and there's a lot of it. Make sure to share the History Buff podcast on all your social media so your friends can join the journey of historical discovery. Become a Patreon supporter, and for just $4 a month, you can have exclusive access to bonus content, like early access to episodes, exclusive and extended episodes, and videos. The History Buff podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and all podcast platforms. Start listening right now. The History Buff podcast is your gateway to exploring the past like you never have before. The History Buff podcast with your resident history buff, Artie, where history comes alive. Tune in and transform your understanding of the past. The History Buff podcast on all podcast platforms. Have you ever wondered who holds the world record for giving birth to the most children, or the size of the largest star in the universe? What would happen if the planet Earth fell into a black hole? From author Jesse Sloan comes the book Fat Monkey's 3,000 Mind-Blowing Factoids, Things You Didn't Know You Needed to Know, available on Amazon. Inside, you'll discover the answers to those questions and thousands more quirky and awe-inspiring facts, from the mysteries of history and science to the marvels of the natural world. Organized into 6 engaging categories, Fat Monkey's 3,000 Mind-Blowing Factoids is your ultimate compendium for trivia nights or simply wowing your friends with random tidbits. Are you ready for a wild intellectual journey? Expand your horizons and astonish your peers. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Available in Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. Fat Monkey's 3,000 Mind-Blowing Factoids, Things You Didn't Know You Needed to Know, from author Jesse Sloan. It's not just a conversation starter, but a journey into the extraordinary. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Are you tired of that same old baby gear shopping experience? Toss that baby powder aside and get ready for a shopping adventure like no other at babeydropshop.myshopify.com. Picture this, a digital wonderland where strollers moonwalk, diapers do the cha-cha, and onesies breakdance. It's not just a store, it's a baby boogie revolution. Say goodbye to boring baby shopping and hello to babeydropshop.myshopify.com, where your baby swag level goes through the roof. The deals are hotter than the diaper blowout. From onesies that scream future genius to pacifiers with more bling than a celebrity baby shower, they've got it all. And guess what? Their prices are so good, even the storks are jealous. But wait, there's more. Spin the baby bottle of fortune and win fabulous discounts, or maybe even a dance-off with a diaper-wearing mascot. It's wild. It's wacky. It's babeydropshop.myshopify.com. What are you waiting for? Go right now to babeydropshop.myshopify.com and join the party. Don't miss out on the chance to make your baby the talk of the playground. babeydropshop.myshopify.com. It's not just a shop, it's a funky fiesta for your little VIP. Very important Pampers. Disclaimer: no actual babies were forced to dance during the making of this broadcast. Diapers were harmed in the pursuit of hilarity. Baby Drop Shop is not responsible for uncontrollable giggles and spontaneous dance outbreaks. Shop responsibly and keep the baby powder nearby. babeydropshop.myshopify.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Okay, Anna Navarro, who over on The View. I'll just read the headline. Anna Navarro tells politicians trying to ban Black history to take Martin Luther King's name out of your mouth. Okay, because yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, and that's why this is in the news. Republicans are not trying to end Black history. I remember when Black history became a part of the curriculum. I was in 8th grade here in Florida when it was happening. This was in the 80s. And in the 80s, we were using textbooks that were written in the 70s, and the civil rights movement had just ended. So, and many of those books were probably just updates from the 60s. Black history was not integrated in the school textbooks. So what happened was, and this was before Martin Luther King Day, by the way, was a holiday. What happened is they started with Black History Month, and what they would do in schools, because it wasn't in the book, they would have special things in school about Black history, Black inventors, Black people that had done things. And sometimes there were things you knew. Sometimes there were people you never heard of before. And what's happened when it comes to Black history, Republicans are not trying to stop Black history at all. What's happened over the years with Black history and education, it's been taken away from being history, learning about historical figures and events. It's been turned into an activist thing with this critical race theory. And what Republicans are talking about doing is ending critical race theory in school, which is not Black history. It's something completely different. And the textbooks in the public schools now have African American history integrated in them, which they did not have when this first became a thing. And so what's happened is we have like 35 or 40 years of Black history in education, which, by the way, is a good thing that we all support. But it's no longer Black history. It's been fully integrated into the American history textbooks and the American history story. Does that make sense to everyone? You know, I think it makes sense. So there's no need to have a separate thing. And the reason that a lot of people on the left, Anna Navarro, who's a Republican, by the way, right? Can you believe? But she's like a liberal. The reason so many on the left are upset is because critical race theory, which teaches social activism in a very negative way, is being kicked out. Not Black history, not African American history, whichever one you want to call it. And it's such a misleading thing. Now, yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, and schools are closed, banks are closed. I think that's the opposite of what should happen. Martin Luther King was a great man, did great things. The school should be open on Martin Luther King Day, and it should be a day dedicated to Martin Luther King and all of his great work, and that should be taught in schools as opposed to all the kids being off. I like here in our neighborhood, the kids were out of school yesterday. They were just riding their bikes around the neighborhood. They weren't learning about, you know what I mean? Martin Luther King Day is wasted by the kids not being in school learning about Martin Luther King. And I'll tell you, I went to Martin Luther King's museum and his church, which is amazing. If you're ever in Atlanta, you should go.
We took Emily there.
I took our daughter there. Yeah, and you can actually sit in the pews of his church, and they, at least when I was there, they were playing
really nice.
They were playing recordings of his sermons while you're sitting in the pews.
Yeah, it was nice.
And it's been completely restored.
And we went up
like
in the
when he was preaching
museum,
there.
and it was cool because he really admired Gandhi, and he had a pair of Gandhi's glasses. He had a lot of
sandals, Gandhi sandals.
Yeah, he had a lot of private things that belonged
really cool
to Gandhi that he had collected or that were given to him. I'm not exactly sure, but he really admired him because he admired his peaceful protesting. He would be absolutely disgusted over these Antifa and over these cities being destroyed with Black Lives Matter. That is not the Martin Luther King way. He was into peaceful protesting because he believed, like Gandhi, that was the way to be heard.
And they both won, by the way, Gandhi and Martin Luther
and
King.
the way to get your message across through peaceful protest. But the groups of today, it's all about violence. They're the opposite of Martin Luther King.
That's why they don't like Martin Luther King.
So I think that, a lot of them don't. And I that's what I always learned. And another thing that's different with Martin Luther King is, we grew up, and he died before I was born, but we grew up learning about him a lot. And what I was always taught in school and by my parents was what Martin Luther King said is colorblind, judge by character.
Not the color of your skin.
Not the color of your skin. Well, now things are different. Now young people want you to judge them by the color of their skin. They want you to take into account their ethnicity and make accommodations based on that. Like, I was watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I like that show. And a couple of years ago, they brought on a new character, Crystal, who was Asian. And she's got a real hang-up about being Asian. And she met this one woman, and she was very rude off the bat. And she said, don't tell me that you look at me and that you just don't see that I'm Asian and all this. She said, when you look at me, I want you to acknowledge that I'm Asian and take that into consideration when you address me. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, So I'm supposed to stereotype this woman about Asians and take that into account without even getting to know her. I mean, I thought this is a lunatic.
Yeah.
But she's a millennial, and that's how they think now. They think that you're supposed to look at a person, oh, she's black. Okay, well, let me adjust my thinking and adjust the way I communicate, because that's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. But that's how a lot of young people are. Thank God our daughter isn't like that. And our family's multicultural. There's Cuban people, and my sister married a Cuban guy, and then Emily's is black, part black. So there's gays in my family and everything. So it's not, all one thing. But I'm glad Emily doesn't have those hang-ups about her race, and it's never really an issue. I've never even really heard Emily talk about it. She said it just doesn't matter to her. And the only racism Emily's ever encountered is from the black community, to be honest with you. From the time she was born, it started. And we've told that story before when we went to adopt her. It started right away with a black nurse that tried to stop the adoption.
That's true.
But I don't understand this whole thinking, because we grew up believing that you judge somebody by their character. And I've always felt that way. And I've always really, really tried to not let stereotypes of anybody get in the way or cloud my judgment of any kind. But now they're teaching young kids, white people are born racist. That's critical race theory. They can't help it. They see you as less than. No, that's how liberals think. Like Joy Reid, I've actually heard her, not Joy Reid, Joy Behar, who's the biggest bigot on television. I've actually heard her say black people don't own guns. What is she talking about?
She's out of her mind.
That black people don't believe in the Second Amendment. Really? Does she understand the history of black people and the Klan?
Has she ever been to a gun store?
And how black people? I know Condoleezza Rice talked about how her father had guns and it protected his family from the Klan.
That's right.
When she grew up in the South.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are stupid.
It's crazy.
They only see color.
Now, there's another thing going on that's becoming a new trend with government workers. This started at the White House, and it's happening at other government agencies now. Federal government workers, and again, the staff at the White House did this a few weeks ago, are walking off the job in protest of U.S. policy. Now, the policy they're protesting is U.S. policy with Israel. It doesn't matter what the policy they're protesting is. It is illegal for federal workers to strike, okay? And the federal workforce has been gearing up. They've been doing a little bit at a time. It started at the White House, and now it's growing where they're walking off the job in protest of U.S. policies. And the problem with the federal workforce is unionized. And the federal workforce is obviously way too big. And what's happened with the federal workforce is they become a very influential group in the Democrat Party. They have influence over for example, the NRA has as an example, okay? The NRA has a lot of influence with the Republicans, right? This is known, right? The federal workforce has that kind of influence over the Democrat Party. And that's not right. The federal workforce should not be telling the government that they work for what to do policy-wise. They have a right to vote and speak their mind like any other American. But the Federal Workers Union is like the labor unions and other things, ACI, the SEIU and all this stuff, that they use their membership as a political tool with the Democrats and the government. They have too much pull. And I'm very glad that these federal workers are walking off the job. It is illegal for federal workers to strike. Not only is it illegal, they can be prosecuted and put in jail for doing it.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I thought the postal workers have gone on strike. Teachers have gone on strike?
Teachers aren't federal workers.
Oh. What about postal workers? They are.
Have the post office gone on strike? If they did, I don't remember. If they did, it was illegal. But President Trump's coming back.
So, but maybe not.
And this trend, I notice Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, was picking up on this today with the federal workers walking off the job. President Trump, I hope, picks up on this. It's big in the news today, and goes after these federal workers, it'll encourage more federal workers to walk off the job over U.S. policy. It doesn't matter what the issue is. I mean, I don't agree with them. They're against Israel. They don't like the United States supporting Israel. That's why they're doing this right now. But next year, they'll be doing it on another policy. So if President Trump on the campaign trail gets involved in this and starts talking about it, they'll start doing it more. And what he'll do is threaten, and he'll do it, to fire and prosecute federal workers who strike or walk off the job. The federal workforce is too big. They are too big of a lobby group in Washington. People talk about these lobbyists in Washington. The Federal Workers Union is one of the most powerful lobby groups in Washington, okay? And it's a good opportunity for us to break the Federal Workers Union, to reduce the size of government and fire these people. One of the reasons we want to fire them is one of the problems we have, and President Trump's going to have this in his second term. The federal workers are almost all liberal Democrat activists, okay? Barack Obama did some of the largest hiring sprees in the history of the federal government. And a lot of those people have been in government for 15 years now because he was president a long time ago. We need to purge these people out and do a mass recruitment drive of federal workers, of conservative-minded people, because the bureaucracy is such liberal, activist-based. They slow walk things, right? Like President Trump will give an order and they won't carry it out. Remember Vindman? That Vindman, who should have be in Leavenworth prison, he should have been court-martialed and sent to Leavenworth, okay, for 20 years, committed treason against the commander-in-chief. That's the attitude of the federal workforce. And when President Trump comes back, draining the swamp, it's a difficult thing when you have all these federal workers that are Democrat activists. So I hope that this grows. Also, yesterday, I don't think I've had an opportunity to talk about this because of Iowa, but a hostage video was released of the girl that was kidnapped on the motorcycle. She's still alive. There are some Americans still being held, and I don't understand what Biden's doing. I'm seeing this story again today that we're taking action against these Iranian-backed groups. I don't even know who these are. These Houthi or whatever. If they're Iranian-backed, that means we're backing them because we're backing Iran. So we are backing Iran, giving them money. They're backing these rebels that we're bombing. And they're saying that Iran is giving them weapons. For all I know, the weapons they're giving these people are weapons that Iran got from Afghanistan or Iran bought with the money that Biden's been sending them.
That's usually how it works.
The level of corruption at this government level that we are in right now is insane. You guys remember Iran-Contra? Ronald Reagan, back in the 80s, there were a lot of Americans being taken hostage around the world. Ronald Reagan did this arms deal. He gave Iran weapons. They were mostly old weapons, nothing high tech, in exchange for American hostages. And I know that's a controversial thing, but it was for the lives of people. Obama and Biden are just giving cargo jet pallets filled with cash to Iran on a very regular basis. Why is that not something the media and Washington is upset about as much as they were Ronald Reagan, who gave them some old weapons in exchange for the lives of American hostages?
Obviously, because they're Democrats and they're going to say whatever they can. Did you see this thing with Rachel Maddow, what she said about Trump?
Yeah, she was in tears last night on MSNBC. Rachel Maddow.
Oh yeah,
she's very full of herself. She talks like a college professor.
Oh yeah. So brilliant.
Just have to do a little bit of business just for a second. At this point in the evening, the projected winner of the Iowa caucuses has just started giving his victory speech.
She can't even say his name.
We will keep an eye on that as it happens. We will let you know if there's any news made in that speech, if there's anything noteworthy, something substantive and important. The reason I'm saying this is, of course, there is a reason that we and other news organizations have generally stopped giving an unfiltered live platform to remarks by former President Trump. It is not out of spite. It is not a decision that we relish. It is a decision that we regularly revisit. And honestly, earnestly, it is not an easy decision, but there is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things.
That is a fundamental truth of our business and who we are. And so his remarks tonight will not air here live. We will monitor them.
Meanwhile, she lied about Russia for 2-3 years in a row. She lied about the whole Russia thing. She lied about that nightly. But she's not going to air Trump because he's a liar.
Well, a few things. Last night, what she's talking about is Trump's victory speech, which CNN did not carry.
Wow. They can't shut him out forever.
When you're a news organization, it is not up to you to decide what is truth and what is not.
Well, that's how they see it now. They're the gatekeepers.
You are supposed to report, and then the viewer can decide what is truth to them or not. And, what we're watching here with Rachel Maddow, it's so bizarre. She's on live television, saying on national television that she is living what George Orwell said the world would become, right? She's the decider of truth. She will be the filter of information. And she can't even say Trump's name like Whoopi Goldberg, right? She can't even say his name. And I've heard her say this before, that every time we play him, we lose something as a news organization.
Oh my gosh.
There is no one in this country who looks at MSNBC as a credible news organization. Not even NBC News looks at MSNBC as a credible news organization. It's basically a bunch of talk shows where they just talk about the news as opposed to actually reporting it. But I watched Rachel Maddow a little bit on this panel, and it's so bizarre. Go on Twitter and watch these clips. When Rachel Maddow talks, all the other panelists, they surround her. They don't say anything, and they look at her in awe, like she is the oracle of all knowledge.
No, they kiss her ass.
And they act like she's such a smart woman.
For someone
she's not a smart person,
who looks like a guy, she's very girly.
Yeah,
she cries constantly.
She's very emotional.
Very emotional.
Very emotional. And she talks to the audience, and this is something that she's the worst at. I know other people that do this.
They have her up on such a pedestal.
She talks down to the audience. You guys in this audience, you guys know as much, if not more, than I know. Okay, and when you get these people like her thinking that they're smarter than the viewer, smarter than their audience, what she has become in her mind. She's like a cult leader, and she has a responsibility to teach people what is right, what is wrong, what is truth,
I would
what is not.
imagine when she goes to parties or dinner parties.
Can you imagine?
That she sits at the table and just talks, and people literally just put their heads in their hands and just stare at her and just
awe over her brilliance.
Suck it up and just lap it up and just love everything she says. Because that's the circle she's in. I mean, she's only going to hang around with people that are going to treat her that way. She's not going to hang around with people
what's so weird?
That are going to argue with her.
Back in the days of the nightly news being a big nightly news, I don't even know who the anchors are. I think Lester Holt's on one.
Yeah, my mom loves David Muir. She never misses him.
The nightly news at 6:30 on the networks used to be a big thing. And back in the days of I'll use Walter Cronkite, for example. Walter Cronkite was an embedded reporter in the Second World War and was with the Army in the war in Europe. He did things. Dan Rather was live in Dallas, a local reporter who did incredible coverage during the Kennedy assassination. He was on the scene
to the American people.
Well, he did lie about the DUI, but the people that are on national television today have done nothing.
No.
They go to, she went to Princeton. So they go to Princeton, Harvard, Yale.
No, it's all who they know. They're connected
to. Then they become CIA assets with Operation Mockingbird, and then they get national shows, and they've done nothing.
The media has been weaponized and is an arm of the political parties now. And
well, not ours.
Well, no,
not the MAGA movement.
Fox is no longer, they're still an arm of the deep state rhinos. And it was funny because I have not watched the national news in months, but when there's an election, I do turn it on, and I did put on Fox. I was going between Fox and CNN a little bit yesterday.
Well, to get the results.
Well, even a little bit before, and I put on Fox, and they would interview people in Iowa. None of them were supporting Trump. They were all undecideds, or voting Haley and DeSantis.
Yeah.
They had nobody, maybe one or two, that were actually supporting Trump.
Bizarre.
Which is so funny considering he won by 53%. And the rest had like 18%. So, they do that because they're trying to manipulate people, and they're trying to give the impression that Trump does not have the support that he does. But let me tell you the impression I got last night. And I did watch a CNN a little bit for their election coverage, and because they do have very good election coverage. And Dana Bash was on, and she was on with a couple other people I can't remember, but they were actually saying complimentary things about Trump, which was shocking. And she said, no other candidate. She said these other two are not going to win, and she said no other candidate has gotten the passion and the loyalty that this man has gotten.
That's right.
And then I put on Sean Hannity last night, and he had Newt Gingrich on, and it was very good, and Kellyanne Conway. And Newt Gingrich said, he said, the other two people in the race, he said they're never going to win. He said it's a complete waste of time and money. Yeah. He said Trump's going to win this. It's going to be, he said, this is who the people want.
That's right.
The people have chosen him, and this is who they want. And the people are going to get who they want. And he said it's ridiculous. And he said the establishment is going to have to accept that this is the people's choice. This is America's choice. And I think there were moments of truth on the news between both networks last night.
Well, because it was live.
That's what
for a long
exactly.
time, and they run out of things to say.
And they were saying that they would ask people in the cafes and things, whenever they do that live, it's risky. And they said what I said is going to be the main issue is the border. The border is the main issue more than the economy. And they said the border's out of control. It's hurting our businesses. They're closing down schools. It's affecting our children. And they're like, this is the main issue that's going to be in this election. And Trump has a very good record on the border, and Biden has a horrible record on the border. So that's going to be the problem right here. And that's why Trump's going to win. I mean, I think he'd win anyway. But I think that the border is going to be the main problem here. And it'll be interesting to see. Now, last night, if you don't want to accept Trump's dedication to this, he left Iowa last night, gave his victory speech, flew to New York in a blizzard, had to go to this stupid trial this morning and speak on his behalf of this liar who stole her narrative
Complete lunatic, E. Jean Carroll.
Stole her narrative from an episode of Law and Order. And Brian and I saw that episode. She totally lifted it from that storyline, word for word. Then he's going to New Hampshire tonight to speak. This guy does not have to do this stuff. He does not have to do this stuff. He is almost 80 years old. The guy is unbelievable. The stamina that he has. This is a man that has conviction. This is a man, Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis cannot even come close to the dedication and the conviction of this man.
The other day when
he is all in.
President Trump, and when he came out of the court with that ridiculous Letitia James case, right, the property value case, and he had a press conference, and one of the reporters said, how much time are you spending on your campaign versus the court cases? And President Trump said, listen, these court cases are part of the campaign. This is lawfare. These are my political opponents bringing these fake cases against me. So these court cases are not taking me away from the campaign; they are a part of it. And it was such a great answer.
His perspective, he really is different because the way
very different.
Life is all about perspective, and when you get when you're faced with a challenge, so much of it has to do with how you view that challenge, how you're going to handle it, whether you're going to go with it head on and be positive or let it destroy you. It's all a matter of your perspective on the situation. And I don't know what it is about this guy. I mean, he must have extra dopamine, but he always looks at the situation as a positive and as an opportunity.
Well, that's why he's a billionaire.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's amazing.
That's why he's successful.
So few people are like that.
Well,
Brian.
no, the most successful people are. Now, if you would like to support all of my content, including the podcast here, become a Patreon supporter. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this episode and every episode. Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free editions of all the podcast episodes and a lot of other exclusive content that both Kathy and myself post to the Patreon page. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out, as well as the top Patreon supporters You have your names listed in every podcast episode description and my YouTube videos. So the names you'll hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, Alice, Richard, Maria in Texas, David, Heather, ActicFox, K-Mac, LeeZep, and Shawna. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
The new sci-fi novel from author Tony Travis is now available on Amazon. Keyholes. Keyholes is a journey of discovery. Meet Dr. Alan Messman and his brother Colonel Bryce Messman as they uncover a groundbreaking revelation, a mysterious portal influenced by quantum effects on photons. Join their team on a quest to unravel the secrets hidden behind the keyhole. What lies beyond? A passage to the past, an alternate world, or something beyond our wildest imaginations? Find out when you read Keyholes from author Tony Travis. Follow their journey as it challenges the very nature of reality, intertwining cosmic mysteries with a deep exploration of identity and existence. Every page is a gateway to another layer of mystery, leading to a climax that will leave you questioning the very fabric of our universe. Order your copy of Keyholes from author Tony Travis on Amazon. Available in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and Kindle Unlimited. Keyholes from author Tony Travis on Amazon. From author Patricia J. Marino comes a book that explores the American experience like never before. We Have All Been the Others, reflections of a first generation's daughter on belonging, democracy, and a new American dream. Available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. Drawing from the wisdom of her Sicilian American father, former Detective Alexander Francis Marino, the author offers universal lessons that resonate with our current American landscape, from confronting hypocrisy to the pursuit of fairness. Each chapter unfolds a timeless truth. This unique memoir through history examines the original promise of America through the lens of the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the United States Constitution. We Have All Been the Others invites readers to re-envision a new America. In the words of Langston Hughes, let America be America again. Chapters include Laws Don't Always Equal Right, Call Out Hypocrisy, and Strive to Learn Toughness Through Adversity. Author Patricia J. Marino weaves personal stories with historical insights, exploring the concept of the other and the collective immigrant experience. With this must-read book, you'll embrace our shared heritage, understand our past, and build a more inclusive future. This book is perfect for book clubs and is also a great addition for teachers' classroom reading collection. Order your copy of We Have All Been the Others, reflections of a first generation's daughter on belonging, democracy, and a new American dream. Available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. Are you a business owner, a member of a management team, or want to take your career to leadership levels? Then you will want to add the new book from author Stephen Record to your must-read list, Management Meets Nietzsche, a leadership philosophy, available on Amazon. Management Meets Nietzsche is a journey through Nietzsche's philosophies, reimagined for today's disruptive leadership landscape. In 1884, Nietzsche challenged the value system, and today, this book explores what it takes to be a transformative leader in our modern world. When you read Management Meets Nietzsche, you'll discover how leadership requirements have evolved over 140 years. It blends scientific studies, personal anecdotes, and management literature. It also offers actionable insights for aspiring leaders just like you of any background. The author translates Nietzsche's teachings to modern management, challenging traditional concepts and introducing a fresh perspective on great leadership. Filled with a combination of old virtues, disruptive approaches, and a peek into the future of work, this book will prepare you to embrace innovation. It's also filled with entertaining and eye-opening examples from the author's career. This is a vital resource for anyone who wants to master disruptive thinking and leadership. It's engaging, philosophical, and practical, and perfect for business owners, managers, and anyone who aspires to lead. Management Meets Nietzsche, a leadership philosophy, from author Stephen Record. Available on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and Kindle Unlimited. Order your copy right now and embrace the journey of leadership like never before. Management Meets Nietzsche, a leadership philosophy, on Amazon. Planning a trip or vacation in the new year? Make sure your journey starts at Border to Border Travel. At Border to Border Travel, you'll discover the power of efficient packing with their compression packing cubes and underseat luggage. Border to Border Travel will have you traveling in style while optimizing space like you've never done before. Their compact cubes ingeniously compress your essentials, while their underseat luggage is designed for seamless, stress-free journeys. It's perfect for weekend getaways or business trips. With Border to Border Travel, you'll experience the convenience of organized, hassle-free travel. You get the perfect synergy of smart design and durability. Travel smarter, travel lighter, and travel with unmatched ease. Embrace your next adventure with Border to Border Travel, where innovation meets wanderlust. Online at bordertobordertravel.com. That's the number 2, bordertobordertravel.com. Your journey starts today. bordertobordertravel.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. So Trump has hired a new press person. Her name's Caroline Leavitt, and she posted on Twitter, X, what you were saying about Newt. And I thought, she said, Newt Gingrich now on Fox.
Yeah.
And she has all this in quotation marks.
Yeah, it was good.
This is the people's victory. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And that's true. You know, it's so interesting how these powers that be, even inside the Republican Party, think that they know better than the majority of the people. And they really do believe that. They believe that we're too stupid to vote for who is best, that it's up to them to decide.
Yeah, no, they really do think that. And they don't want the people to decide. And they had Ari Fleischer on last night. They had on Hannity, he had some good people on.
Yeah.
And they were all saying the same thing. And Ari Fleischer was talking about the media and how, you know, they just, in the same tone, was kind of like, they just don't think the people should be able to decide this. And they're trying to control things, and they just think they know better.
Well, because
than everybody.
the media,
but we're a force stronger than them. Sorry,
the media.
That's what drives them nuts.
Is an arm of the deep state.
Yeah.
NSA, CIA, FBI.
Well, they're all arrogant and stuck up.
I mean, you know, and they're very full of themselves. And in the olden days, they used to decide. So she got 3 quotes from Newt.
Yeah, they were good.
The first one: "This is the people's victory." The second one, you mentioned these earlier, but I want to go. Here's the second one. "Trump is the nominee." These are all quotes from Newt Gingrich. "Trump is the nominee. Get over it. There is no candidacy for number 2.
Nope.
And these other 2 that are left are not even viable to be running mates. I mean, they're just not, because they've done so much destruction and betrayal. And third, Trump is not just a candidate. Trump is the leader of a nationwide movement to take power back from the establishment.
Yeah.
Now that part,
Yes, he said that too.
The way that they're acting towards Trump, it's kind of like when Princess Diana died, the way the Queen reacted when the people's princess, all that stuff. The people wanted a reaction from the Queen. She didn't think they were deserving it. You know, that's what's been going on for the last 7 years with the establishment and the media and the deep state towards Trump.
Yeah.
They don't listen to the people. They're on this high holy castle of theirs. They ignore us. And when Newt says that he's the leader of a movement to take power back from the establishment, that's why I talk a lot that President Trump's a civil rights leader.
Yeah.
He's leading the entire American people to freedom from the establishment that control our lives. Our freedom has been an illusion, and Trump red-pilled everybody. Everybody was red-pilled by Trump, not just former Democrats. Even people that have been lifelong Republicans were red-pilled.
Well, it'll be interesting to see as these primaries continue. Iowa is predominantly white, like 95%. Like I saw one black guy there last night. That's just the way the demographics are up there. So it's easy for them to say, like Joy Reid, that this is all racial.
No,
but wait till he gets into more diverse states like South Carolina, Florida, things like that, moves in through the South, and he keeps winning and winning. It'll be interesting to see how they rationalize this, because they're never going to admit what Newt Gingrich said. They're never going to say, Well, you know what? This is who the people want. And we have to respect that. You will never hear those words come out of Rachel Maddow's mouth or Joy Reid. It's all going to be they're bigots, or they've been brainwashed, or they're stupid, they're uneducated, they don't have college degrees. They will say anything to justify Trump's win. That's not truth. That's not truth. They cannot accept the truth. They cannot accept that people just love this guy. It will not compute in their small minds.
Like I'll tell you, when Barack Obama won in 2008, I was not happy. But I knew, hey, we lost this one. We put up this jerk, John McCain, who was very weak.
Yeah.
I like Sarah Palin, but he was weak. I mean, he was defending Obama in the debates, John McCain, remember? I mean, my goodness. We got whipped because we had a weak establishment rhino candidate, and that's the way it is. You come back but this is the thing, guys, and this is something that you guys think about. As bad as Obama was, Trump never would have come down the escalator if radical Obama didn't do the things that he did.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, you all, and I think people realize this now. I don't think they realized it at first, but Trump not having 2 terms consecutive and having this break in between is going to be so much better. He's going to come back with a mandate that no president has ever had. He's really going to get stuff done. Listen to this. Since Biden took office, food prices are up 17.4%.
I believe it. I said to you the other day, I ordered Instacart.
Yeah.
And I said to you, I can't believe how expensive. I'd ordered 15 things. Nothing fancy here. Regular stuff. And the bill was like $150.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I said to you, maybe 20 things. I said, I cannot believe everything is 3 or 4 times what it was.
And Biden
4
doesn't
years
care.
ago. I can't believe how expensive groceries are.
Food prices overall are up 17.4%.
Yeah.
Rents, those of you that rent, my goodness, rents are up 20.3%.
Yeah.
And I got news for you. In Florida, the rents are up probably 40 to 50%, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Electricity prices overall nationwide are up 18.6%. So that's 19%. And this is.
But Biden and the media. This is another problem the liberals are having.
Oh no, I read it backwards, Kathy.
Yeah.
Okay, the numbers were right, but I had the wrong. Prices overall are up 17.4%. Food prices are up 20.3%. Rent is up 18.6%, and electricity is up 24.3%.
This is the problem the media and the left are having. They are going on TV and telling you how everything is great.
Yeah.
But people are living the opposite reality.
Correct.
And people are actually now can see how the media is lying to them because what they're living is the exact opposite. And they're like, well, things aren't great for me. Yeah. I can't afford food. I had to get a 3rd job.
That's right.
I can't take care of my kids anymore. They're home by themselves because I got to work all the time now. And just to put food on the table. I have to work weekends now. I have to make sacrifices. I have to choose between taking my kid to the dentist or for their annual cleaning or buying groceries and things like this. So don't tell me everything is great. So you have people, and I think Trump's a big part of this, waking up to the media lying to them, and they see that they are lying to protect Biden.
That's right.
And that it's all BS, and they're pissed off. And people are seeing things are so bad. They just want things, and they're remembering because it wasn't that long ago.
That's right.
Wow, when Trump was president, I paid $1.60 for gas. Brian told you, Emily went to a hair salon in Los Angeles, all black girls.
She goes to a black hair salon
because she's got the hair that and she said there were no white people there, no Spanish. It was all black people, and she said, and this is L.A. And she said somebody mentioned Trump. And she said, it's like they're afraid to mention him, but the minute they mention him, everybody starts talking about it. And she said, everybody in the salon was saying how they're going to vote for Trump and they love Trump. And the salon owner said, when he was president, I had more money in the bank and my life was better. And she said, I'm voting for that guy. And she said, because under Biden, she said, I'm broke. I got no money.
That's right.
And they don't like all the illegals coming in, and that's costing a fortune. Plus, you got L.A. and other big cities where there's bums everywhere. There's a drug problem. I mean, I don't understand why these liberals just don't do the right thing and do their job. Why are they letting everything go to hell? I don't get it. Why can't they just? It was not like this back in
Kathy,
the
I'll
60s
tell you why,
and
because
70s.
you know why?
The Democrats
Because-
actually cared.
Because George,
what the hell has happened to this party?
Because China and George Soros
Yep.
have bought the Democrats.
I guess
and
so.
and they're
They're
causing
destroying the country.
They're causing anarchy. Crime is anarchy. They're causing anarchy in this country in many different ways to
Yeah.
bring down this country.
That's right. They're all on the tape.
That's it. It's China and Soros.
Because it wasn't like
Yeah.
this. You know, my dad's was never a fan of Kennedy. My dad's always been conservative and everything. But he would, my dad's 86. But he would tell me, but he'd say, I was never a Democrat. But he'd say, you know what? But the Democrats used to actually care about America. And they were much more conservative than you see now. Like they were pro-gun. They were pro-life. And he said, they cared about the people and the workers
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Some of them were communists, obviously. There were those rumblings starting back then in the 50s and stuff. He said, but it's so different now. He said, they're so radicalized. And I think you're right. It's a lot to do with these outside influences coming in and buying off these politicians. And they're just out to destroy this country. And they're for sale and they don't care. But I don't understand why the people, I think this election will be different. I think people are finally waking up to the reality of what's really happening. And when they watch the news and the news is telling them everything's fine, nothing to see here, it's pissing them off because they're like, you know what? Everything is not fine. Like you
That's
got
right.
Mayorkas on TV. The border's not open. The border's not open. And then you see video of millions of people coming in, thousands of people coming
A day.
every day. You're like, well, he's lying. He's lying right to the television.
It was
They're
like-
obviously letting them in.
It was
We're not blind.
It was like that CNN report a couple years ago. It was live on CNN at night.
Yes.
And this guy says this is mostly a peaceful
Oh my
protest
gosh.
while he was in front of a burning factory.
It
Remember
was
that
like
burning
that
building?
scene out of Naked Gun,
Yeah.
where Leslie Nielsen, the building is blowing up, and he said nothing to see here,
Except
And
this
the
was
whole
real.
Building's blowing up behind him.
Except with Mayorkas and the border.
Oh my gosh,
It's real. Well, we're out of time for today. We'll be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always